and I can't remember the whole story, but he got sent a cease and desist and had to take it all down. So basically, we're clear of that because none of our codes, demonstratably, none of our code came from Williams. And part of that is we can't fix that annoying bug you've got in your no good gophers, was what I remember someone asking me for. Basically, it's because to do that, if we wanted to fix that annoying bug, we'd have to build the entire ROM from scratch, all the way up, and then fix that bug. And it would just be better just to write your own rules, personally. The other thing we can't do as well is you're limited, as I said earlier, you're limited by the physical layout of the machine. So in the case of Twilight Zone, there is only one way you can pull that skill shot ribbon. But other than that, you're only limited by what you can think of. There we go. What do I need to play FreeWPC? You need one of those, a chip. No boards, no wires, nothing. Just a chip with FreeWPC burned into it. At the moment, I am looking for playtesters, but I'm going to need the sort of people who are sort of technically savvy and know how to change a fuse and stuff like that. Because as I said, I can, once I'm happy with the build, I can just post you one if you haven't got a ROM burner. If you have got a ROM burner, great, I can just send you a file and you can burn it to your chip. And as I say, you can pop it in your cabinet and within 2 minutes you're playing. The only problem with this is, at the moment, you'll lose all your high scores every time you switch between the factory software and FreeWPC. But my response to that is get a pen and paper. If you're too scared to put it in a machine, or don't want it, or don't have a machine, but still would like to either play or develop for it, you can use something called Visual Pinball. I'm sure a lot of people here have heard of it. It's an emulator that simulates the pinball hardware and also simulates the pinball physics badly.
I can show you it on there.
It's a hobby project, it's alright. Although they started selling it. Isn't those virtual pins, aren't they, running Visual Pinball or some variation of? It must be. But as I say, this is what we used to start, when we start development and if we're testing UK, we always chuck into an emulator, just because it's quick. You can just boot up, off you go.
Yeah, it's on there.
And it's fairly accurate. The only problem you've got with using an emulator is these switches work 100% of the time, and they work in exactly the same way every single time. Now, a real pinball doesn't do that. You need stuff like debounce on it. So, say if the switch triggers twice in 60 milliseconds, you say, well, just ignore the seconds. You're only ever going to get one switch closure in 33 milliseconds or whatever. So, as I say, you'll develop in Visual Pinball, and you'll stick it in a real machine, and you'll go, oh, I need to tweak that. And as I say, because of the way they've laid out the machines, the gaps between where the switches are will be slightly different, so then you'll have to modify the timings as well. So it can be a bit of a nightmare, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad at all.
Do you have to support the debounce yourself, or is that not built into the
there is a default debounce, so you can set to 8 milliseconds. But some cases, like the shooter, for example, the shooter switch where the ball rests on when you pull the plunger, you set that to about 200 milliseconds because you don't want to go, you just want it going every time they pull it. What do I need to develop FreeWPC? Well, it's fairly simple. You just have a PC, some way of running it, so Visual Pinball. The development environment you can run on Windows now. Is predominantly Linux-based, the toolchain, but Dom runs it on Windows now. And I think there's a few other things in the pipeline. I think Brian's ultimate aim is just to make something that's literally point and click, but that's many, many years away now. And you'll also need some knowledge of C. You won't need a lot because it's not that complicated. But you will need to know how arrays, point. You probably even get away with not even knowing what pointers are, to be honest. Because I didn't know what pointers were and I got away with it. So yeah, you'll need some vague knowledge of it. What you really need is a Linux PC or a Windows PC with a dev environment. You'll need a real pinball table because, like I said, Visual Pinball isn't the same every single time. It's the same every single time. So once you start putting it into a real table, you'll notice all these little variances that come out. To facilitate that, you'll need a little EEPROM emulator, which Dom's got here. Look. I'll just unplug it in a minute.
Yep.
This is the box of choice at the moment for the old FreeWPC boys. It's basically, I suppose you can't really see it. But it's just a small box that's got serial connection to the PC, and then you have a connection that sits in the little ROM socket on the CPU boards. And you can load code in and take it out in it's about a minute to load it because it's quite an old device. So within a minute you can get your code into your machine and start testing it. But the most important thing you'll need is a hell of a lot of enthusiasm and ideas. Because I'm really stubborn, and I think that's the only reason I got anywhere with it, because although I have said it's a lot easier and things are made easy for you, you're still going to need to want to learn, and you're still going to need to appreciate that it is complicated. You know, it looks simple, but it can get really, really complicated. So you will need lots of enthusiasm. If you don't feel like writing code, the other things that you can do for us is we need artwork. I suck at art really badly. I'm not sure about Dom, I haven't seen much of your work.
I suck at it
I'm
too.
guessing both of us being coders are not going to be great artists. You know, our art is in particularly a different direction. So, I mean, what we're looking for specifically is people who can do pixel art. Because you've got to make it look good in 128 pixels by 32. And you've also got to take into account that the dot pitch you've got is, each square isn't a full square, you've got like a bit of black around it as well, so you take that into account when you're designing your artwork. But we've got an art package that simulates the DMD display that makes it a lot easier. You can write rule sets and ideas. I think we're in the process of getting a wiki sorted out. So if you come up with a brilliant idea like Phil Dixon did, you can just log onto our website, put it in there, and like Brian said to me when I started the project, say if you have an idea, write it, play it, see what it plays like, and if it's no good, never mind, you've learned something. If it is good, then you've done a good thing. And the other machine definitions, if you want your table supported, you could do no worse than write out a machine definition for us, which is the pages I showed you where the lamp lists and the solenoid drives. I mean, even if you don't do it fully, it basically means we don't have to spend an hour sitting there digging out the manual and trying to figure out how the table works, because you'll know how the table works because it's your table. So if you really wanted to get your machine FreeWPC'd, send us a machine definition, and that'll almost certainly make one of us go, oh, well, I suppose I could knock up a quick build in a couple of hours. I mean, as I say, there's a bot build at the moment that's been worked on at the moment. As I say, if you've got any machines and you do fancy writing a machine definition, be our guest. And the other thing you can do is just do play testing. If you want to run it in Visual Pinball, it's great. I can give you instructions on how to do that. And if you want to run it in real hardware, well done, you're really brave. But as I said, at the moment I'd like to limit it to Visual Pinball only, and then the people who can give me quite detailed technical stuff, I'll give them ROMs for them to run. And that's it. If anyone's got any questions, I'd like to take them now. But otherwise we can go poke the machines. Yeah, shoot.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
With your machine definitions, is there a way you can take it automatically to Visual Pinball?
No.
Not at the moment, no.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
You can probably cross-reference some of it though, because if you look in the source code for it, there is some, yeah.
The trouble is, by the time you've written a tool to actually strip it out, you probably could have written
Yes.
machine definitions anyway. And there's only, as I say, there's not that many machines. I mean, the reason why TZ was picked seems a bit of a silly idea because it's got quite good software anyway. The reason TZ was picked is because it's got loads of toys on it. As I say, Bride of Pinball is a prime target for FreeWPC because its rules suck. As I say, if you can think of any other machines that it's ruined by the software, then that's the ones we want to do at the moment. Any other questions?
Assuming you've got space in the lamp switch or solenoid space,
Yeah.
could you do your own add-ons?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, it's all written in C, and it's all really well documented. So I mean, I pulled Ryan's code to bits and shoved stuff in, basically. So yeah, if you fancied making, these lights flash at twice the speed or anything like that.
No, what I meant.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can, if say for instance, if you've got
Is
a
that what you mean?
More hardware.
Extra targets or
yeah. You can do that. So, for instance, you could drill a post somewhere on an orbit and stick a little up post in it, and if you've got a spare solenoid drive, you could add that to it, no problem at all.
Yeah, so this is the other reason why we use TZ, is because every single output on TZ is used. So we know that we've got each of these outputs working. So say if you had Bride of Pinball with its 3-ball trough with the 3 switches wired in and its 2-ball multi-ball, it's literally a case of software to get that machine to play 3-ball multi-ball rather than 2-ball. And I say, if you did have a machine that had extra flashes that weren't wired up, then you could write a FreeWPC to take advantage of those extra flashes. You'd obviously have to write the entire game first, but as I say, you can use that extra. You're not, as I say, you're not limited by what the original software designers did.
No, I mean you could, for instance, take an entire WPC board set and stick it in your own cabinet. So
Yeah.
and then you can do all that.
You can write a brand new game with it
Yeah.
quite easily.
I guess as long as it's not an Adam's Family refurbished one.
Well, I mean, I was looking for a Hurricane. I was trying to, because no one's going to miss a Hurricane. Let's face it. And I was looking around. I managed to find one, and the guy wanted thousands for it. Well, Gilligan's Island, yeah, that's the other one. Isn't it? I'm not going to do a Popeye because I quite like Popeye now. Where's Doug? Where's Doug with a Popeye? Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just on the rule sets and stuff. I was curious to know what goes into making the ROM image. So you've got the machine definitions there. Presumably there's graphics, and then is it C code that defines the rules of the machine?
Yeah, what it is, we have this ends up being a huge text file, which then gets put through our build system, and I believe it's Perl generates all the defines and headers for us. So this will, where it says panel gumball, we'll have a define that says lm-panel-gumball. And I say if I wanted to turn that panel on, I just go lamp on lm panel gumball. So as I say, this is auto generated by a Perl script to give us all our headers. The same with the templates as well. The templates you have